Hello there everyone, and welcome to the Star Wars Lads. Today, I'm going to be reacting to the just released Skeleton Crew trailer. This has been a show that we've been waiting for a long time. It's been announced years ago. We expected it to come out last year. It got delayed to the end of this year. Then we got the confirmation that December 3rd would be the release date. And now finally, with D23 happening today, we finally got to see a full-fledged trailer. And I'm just going to be able to react to it right now. I give you my quick thoughts, kind of go back and scroll through some things that were interesting to me, things that could be connected to the rest of the Mandoverse and whatnot. But without further ado, let's get into it. It's a school bus.
Will set the course of your entire future.
Interesting, yeah. We expect them to be school kids.
Don't you ever want to do anything?
Visually looks
exciting?
really good.
Like what? What if
But
we
also
could go
like,
anywhere we want in the
oh wow,
whole
that is just
galaxy?
straight like 80s suburbia right
Real
there.
Adventure. No more pretend.
Is that Luke and the Rancor?
I found something buried in the woods.
Okay.
What do you think it is?
Yeah, definitely a little Goonies, a little Stranger Things vibes.
I think it's a lost Jedi temple.
Be
Okay.
careful where you step.
Interesting. An actual skeleton. Okay, there's that robot that we've been seeing at D23.
We're lost. Really lost.
And the creature design looks incredible. What is this shit? Oh, that's like an owl. Is that a Shabastamid? What are these creatures? X-Wing, okay.
You're a Jedi.
Is this Jod Nanaweb or whatever they're calling him? Jude Law's character? Nanaweb? Okay. Okay, so that was the trailer. Definitely a lot more visually appealing, super aesthetic than I expected. I know we've got Jon Watts as the creator behind this show, and he's done Spider-Man, the MCU films, and I think those are quite underrated in some visual aspects, but he's never really been this expressive to me. There's been some really, really great choices here. We know that Phil Tippett and the old 80s and 70s crew has been very influential, has directly worked on this project, but it looks really alive, and that gets me excited, especially because this is a show that seemingly has not had a lot going on for it, not a lot of hype for it. So yeah, no, really excited about what I've seen here. Let's just go through some frames here. We got the kid, I'm assuming our lead here, he's looking up. Some starfighters, pod racing, something, he's dreaming of adventure, looks like. All right, and then yeah, this one really captured my attention here. It's a school bus, right? When we thought that we're going to be following around these kids and all that, I don't think any of us expected like a fully suburbanized school. Like, yeah, I mean, it's conceivably similar to what our own world might look like in like 40, 50 years in some places. So that was not an aesthetic choice I thought would necessarily work, but I actually don't mind it. I'm very curious about this. We have the school here. That's pretty big. And then our teacher with some robots. Looks like something about a test is going to be one of the biggest things in their lives. That's going to decide so many avenues and opportunities for them. Yeah, I mean, let's look at just this little sequence here. The two girls just flying through, right? Like, that just looks great. And then obviously we got an alien lead, and this is really awesome because obviously this is Max Rebo's species. There is the whole contention of like, should they have 2 arms and 2 legs, or should they just have the legs? I mean, it looks great regardless. It looks pretty alive. I was expecting a little bit more of like a voice per se that is a little bit more alien, like some accent or something, but it just sounds like an American kid. I don't mind that, right? Especially if they're all growing up together, it makes a lot of sense. I think we're definitely showing how aliens all living on a very civilized planet all together, how similar they could be, how they almost become seamless as a culture, their practices, their behaviors. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, this little sequence here, oh my God, like that is just a huge, huge suburbia. Like this is just Texas, right? Just how big Texas is with all the suburbs there. Green lawns. Like, yeah, I mean, it looks like a lot of these cars kind of stay on these tracks here too. So I guess lanes are pretty well regulated wherever they live. This shot captured my attention. I mean, it does look like it's outside, but you know, that does look like Luke standing up against the Rancor, or like the mytholization, or like just like the mythology of like what people think about, what they've heard about, the little details and everything that went on in Jabba's palace. Let's see what else here. Yeah, we got some shots of the kids in the garage. The rest of them are human. I thought one of them might be Mira Lucan. But yeah, I mean, some of these shots look stunning. Yeah, he says it's a lost Jedi temple, which I think is pretty interesting. I wasn't expecting that to necessarily be the way they kind of stumble onto the ship. But I mean, it makes a lot of sense for a kid who is excited and enthralled by space, adventure, and especially Jedi now that Luke's legend has grown so magnificently under the New Republic, presumably, right? Like, yeah, I mean, we might even hear rumblings about an Ezra or something else, depending on the placement of the timeline here. But yeah, pretty cool. You know, the kids stumble into the ship here. Very Goonies-esque, right? Like, what have we discovered? What have we found here? They slide in, and then this shot here, like, I'm assuming that's the ship. Maybe some safety mechanism or something just pops off. Interesting regardless. And then we get the skeleton of Skeleton Crew, perhaps. And then, let's see. Oh, here's that little droid robot. Pretty excited about that. Where it's going to take the kids for sure. Yeah, I mean, some of the locations here just look like classic EU Star Wars. Look very imaginative, really full and rich. Visually, this looks so good. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm excited for what we got here from these kids. Like, there's just so many different aliens here. The Onyx Cinder ship. Oh, I love this creature. It looks like a little bit like a Professor Owl-ish of sorts on his little platform. That is very cool. Shavastivin in here. The crew with the robot again. The Onyx Cinder looks like it's going to be a pretty cool ship. But then the X-Wings are here. And of course, Jad Nanawud, our supposed Jedi, rumblings of being a Order 66 escapee of sorts. It'll be very cool, but he does give me a lot of EU Jedi vibes. So, yeah, very, very excited for him and what's in store for him, for sure. So those are my thoughts on the Skeleton Crew trailer. But let me pass it over to Liam, who was able to send me a quick recording of some of his thoughts on Skeleton Crew.
Hello there, everybody. These are my quick car thoughts on the Skeleton Crew trailer. I had to go to a wedding tonight, so I couldn't be there for the reaction, but we'll cover it all in a live here soon. I really enjoyed this trailer. It's very different than anything we've seen in Star Wars before, kind of Lost Stars-esque in my opinion, about seeing these kids dreaming about what they can do in this galaxy in the future, and I like that. Skeleton Crew has been something I have not really been that excited for since they announced it, but as we've creeped closer and closer to it eventually coming out, it looks better and better every time we see promo images, and now this trailer. I think this looks actually quite good and might be a nice, refreshing change of pace for Star Wars, which has been kind of stagnating in some ways. Storytelling hasn't branched out in new, different directions recently, and I really appreciate what Skeleton Crew's trying to do. I think it could be very fun. It seems to be diving in. I know a lot of people said Stranger Things when it was first announced, but seems very Goonies to me, which I like. I think that's more akin to the Star Wars vibe. Goonies, E.T., that vibe, it works well, and I can't wait to see what they do with it. It looks to be bigger and more expansive than you expect. A lot of great alien designs. This looks pretty cool. I can't wait to check it out, but I'll pass it back over to Sonic for the rest of this video.
But that was the only officially released thing out of D23. There were some trailers that we got for Andor Season 2 and for The Mandalorian Grogu, which I was able to stumble upon on Twitter. I watched them a couple of times. want to give you guys a little bit of a beat by beat of what happens in each here. But yeah, I can't obviously show anything on the channel. We don't want any copyright strikes or anything, but still want to give you guys the full experience of what was there, what we've been able to see before it gets pulled offline. But yeah, let's start off with the Andor Season 2 trailer. Now, this is really what looks like a BTS trailer. So a lot of interviews showing off the production of it. A lot of camera shots. Start off with Cassian walking down a corridor. Tony Gilroy talking. Then we look like we see the big Senate building of Coruscant with Mon Mothma. And then Luthen Rael and Krilla. I don't know if it's necessarily the Senate building of Coruscant. It does look like it's got a lot more white buildings, a little bit less of the Coruscant tech feel of the gray skyscraper. So maybe Chandrilla or something. It would be really awesome to see her home planet. And then what looks like a shot of Dakar with Forrest Whitaker back as Saw Gerrera, kind of looking around with his crew. Yet Dakar from the Resistance base of The Force Awakens. Then Dedra Meero, a couple shots. Looks like Cassian walking down some flight of stairs. Looks like a industrial building on Coruscant of some sorts. Mon Mothma with her old Season 1 outfit in the Senate. Genevieve O'Reilly talking a little bit. And yes, this does look like Coruscant. I guess we've never seen behind the Senate building. So maybe they're, using some real world place and kind of morphing it with the digital model that they have from episode 2 and 3 and episode 1. I don't mind seeing that. It's definitely different from a Coruscant than I expected. It looks like a pool or something behind there. Then, Diego Luna getting hyped up. TIE Interceptor. Big sets here. We get Adria Arjona back as Bix. We get to see Luthen. And we get to say Krilla walking in new outfits and robes. Cassian. Huge explosions after some protests and riots of some sorts. Maybe this is the Gorman Massacre protest. Right, it's a huge crowd, but there's huge explosives going on here. There's a lot of stormtroopers practically just flying off. And then Tony Gilroy talks about how this is, leading us into Rogue One. So we see Forrest Whitaker head on as Saw Gerrera walking up to us. Then we see Mon Mothma's personal taxi, personal car of sorts in Coruscant. Get to see it looks like Cassian in some nicer garb, maybe some spy infiltration work. But more high-end. Dedra Meero shots, Cyril Karn, seeing a TIE fighter. It looks like he's maybe, coming into this protest, working as a secret police, reporting back to Dedra of sorts. A little bit more conversation, Cassian pointing a gun. And yeah, then we get to see director Krennic, who looks amazing, Ben Mendelsohn. These sets are huge. Looks like a little bit more of the Dakar, command room of sorts. We do see Yavin 4. We get to see the 2 tubes. And it looks like on Yavin we see some X-Wings and Draven from Rogue One, which looks pretty awesome. See him back. And then K2SO shots. Alan Tudyk kind of getting us all hyped up that he's coming back. Cassian in some orange jumpsuit of sorts. The ISB, surveillance room of sorts. Yeah, just Cyril Karn running around. And then the one shot that looks super appealing to me of a speeder running through some planes that look very much like how Dantooine is described and seen in an 03 Clone Wars. Some line talking about a sister from Luthen Rael, so maybe he's using that against Cassian, or maybe they finally go with that thread of, hey, this is Cassian Andor and his sister, right? Just pretty exciting to see all that stuff there. And then a lot of walkway shots, a lot of background characters from Season 1. Yeah, and then really clear shot of what looks like Dakar with its little mounds, landing spots where people kind of go in with their X-Wings. Really looks like this could have been an old base that Leia heard of, but was actually used by the Partisans first. And then, a lot of great shots of Coruscant, Mon Mothma, K2SO. It looks like Mon Mothma is going to be a huge focus here, and then we're going to see stuff literally maybe the origin of the K2SO comic rewritten of sorts, or maybe expanded out. Melshi's in here too. We get to see them jump into hyperspace just like in Rogue One. Very same visuals. And confirmed for Season 2 in 2025. But yeah, that's awesome, man, for sure. It's getting me super hyped for what should be a very different Season 2, but one that I think visually is going to be huge enough to justify just, kind of a year being covered in 4 episodes, or a focus of a year, until we basically have that final arc of episodes just be focused on the literal steps leading into Rogue One. But yeah, very, very excited. And last but not least, we also do have the Mandalorian and Grogu movie trailer of sorts. I don't believe this is a full trailer. This could be a teaser trailer they might release in the next few days. But yeah, it looks pretty fantastic. Starts off with like some shots from episode 1 of season 1 and episode 2 when they first really start bonding, how he's in charge of Grogu. Then we get to season 2, episode 2 and episode 3, right? Having them sipping the soup together, and then him looking out the window as he kind of shows off Mandalore and everything. Kind of goes back to that season 1 shot before his little carrier kind of closes over him. And then we jump straight into what the movie is going to be about. It looks like Din Djarin's coming in, shooting up some people. He's on some selective missions, and there's a new Razor Crest, and being piloted by Zeb Orrelios of all people. So why were they using Zeb? Why were they using that model in Mando season 3? Perhaps because they were planning on using him in season 4 as a character. I still think he should have been in Ahsoka properly, at least a cameo of sorts, but hey, if he's going to have a pretty extended role, that's cool. You know, Zeb is definitely one of the characters that doesn't really get much development after the first 2 seasons of Rebels. So giving him some spotlight to shine will be very cool. But then we kind of jump into like a shot of a hallway full of snowtroopers packing up gear. You know, and then we see Din Djarin kind of coming down menacingly. Grogu kind of walking through a tunnel or crawling through a tunnel before flipping back to the snowtroopers with their flashlights on. And then a mouse droid with like these wheels. And there's a really cool shot of what seems like a camera mounted onto this little droid contraption. And as you see Din Djarin kind of beating up all these different snowtroopers as this little mouse droid, kind of rugged mouse droid of sorts, kind of rolls underneath him. And then there's an ATRT shot of on the snowy planet of Din piloting it with Grogu, skidding down a hill and running into a bunch of AT-STs. And that's how the trailer ends before it shows off the Mandalorian Grogu new logo. And then you see in like this little small ship contraption, maybe carrier, we see the Anzellans from season 3 with Grogu. So, you know, it's going to be a little fun to see Grogu kind of have his own friends, own dynamic. And yes, this is still confirmed to be coming out May 2026. Maybe it changes, maybe not. But this looks like classic Mando adventure. It does seem like it's really building off that final thread of season 3 of working for selective missions for the New Republic. Obviously, it has to be New Republic if Zeb's around, endorsed by him, right? Yeah, it'll be really cool. It looks like we might deal with some of the Shadow Council and their forces. Maybe Thrawn gets a cameo here. This does feel like a slightly condensed season 4, which, you know, I really don't mind. I think season 3, as much as I personally like it, I know Liam's not the biggest fan of it. To me, it felt like there was a little bit of stuff being set up for Skeleton Crew with Vane and all that, and some of the story was just like fun with Carl Weathers, rest in peace, of course. But instead of focusing on like a real big Mandalore plot and a lot more of the backstory and lore that we know about that planet. And obviously it's been a little short change with Grogu just being back immediately because of Book of Boba Fett. So yeah, this will be a fun return to the vibes of hopefully season 2. It does look pretty high budget. It looks really good. I think Favreau, after what we saw in season 2, episode 1, with the IMAX cameras and everything, I think he might actually cook here. So really, really excited. All right, so that's the coverage for the first day of D23 with the Skeleton Crew official trailer and what I was able to see of the leaked trailers online of Andor Season 2 and The Mandalorian and Grogu. Again, not showing anything from those last 2 trailers. I don't think they're really trailers that are meant for the public eye, but still really awesome to see. Hope whatever miniature descriptions I've given are detailed enough for you guys to get a sense of how cool and awesome both of them are shaping up to be. And again, yeah, looks like Skeleton Crew could be something really, really fun and really unique and something that looks really well made. But stay tuned for more coverage, if there is any, for the next couple days of D23. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to check out our latest videos and shorts in our community tab for our latest Star Wars character head-to-head matchups. And stay tuned for more Star Wars Lads coverage, original videos, and more every single week. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.